It's all working out funny. All working out.
Okay, I guess I'm on. I don't know if a thumbnail got taken or not because I never saw it, but I hope so. If not, I'll add one later. How about that? Hi, everybody. Not that anybody's here yet, including you.
Even I'm not there yet.
Okay.
But we're going to be there soon.
Yes. Well, hello. It's Monday, May 31st. It's a gorgeous spring day outside where I am. I hope it is where you are too. And it's good to be back having virtual studio party after a little delay. My father passed away and a few weeks ago. And so obviously it was necessary to put a gap in our schedule to allow for that. In addition, simultaneously and still ongoing are other family things that are completely all consuming. So my brain will be maybe more scattered than usual today. So if so, I apologize. But welcome and welcome back to anybody who is one of our regulars or semi-regulars.
And Val says, hi, Kim and Cal. Glad to see you back, Kim.
Hi, Val.
And Rebecca says, I'm here. I'm here.
Hi, Rebecca. That's lovely.
Our solid troopers. Welcome
That's
back,
so great
guys.
to see you.
Yeah.
You know, we may only have 5 people today. I don't know. I did try to get word out, but I was necessarily a little less attentive to that than usual. Anyway.
We may be small, but we'll be mighty.
Yes. So just for anybody who's new to this, virtual studio party is the studio party that comes to you via the interwebs and was started during the first lockdown here in Ontario, Canada. I think March 20th was our very first virtual studio party. And in fact, Cal wasn't even my co-host at that time. We learned though. And anyway, whether you bring a creative project to work on or not, where you're just doing other things while listening to radio virtual studio party sort of, or you're just chilling, that's all good. It's all good. And if you have a Google account and you're signed in using it on YouTube, then you can participate in our chat, which is text-based here. And Cal will be helping me with the chat. He may be helping me with some other things too, because I hope I have what I need materials-wise here, but you know, we'll see.
This is by far, so far, the calmest part of our day. We've been,
oh my God, yes, it really is the calmest part of our day.
Scheduling, rescheduling,
yes,
arranging, and trying to take in a lot of information in sorry little brains of ours.
Yes.
So
it's been a challenging time. It will continue to be for some time to come.
But just arriving here, I just feel like just exhaling and like.
I hope you feel some of that too when you come here, because that's certainly one of the objectives. It's like you can just sit down, relax, maybe have some fun, and hopefully have some fun. I mean, one way or another, right? So I don't know if there's a thumbnail or not for this.
There isn't. It's a camera with a slash through it.
Oh my God! I tried to take a thumbnail. Honestly,
it's just the nature of the day. But that's
hey, the live stream's going. That's all I can ask for.
You've got a smile. You got red on. Yeah. What more could we ask, right?
Yeah, I figured I needed my lucky color today. Also, it's very apropos because I'm going to be working on an altered book today. I'm going to start a new one, actually. I had got this idea when my father was dying. My father is the reason I love science so much. And we have a number of these science supplements to Old School Encyclopedia, and quite a hefty tome. And he years ago bought me a set of encyclopedia, investing in his child's education and so on. Little did he know that it would all become available on something called the internet. Anyway, so I thought this was a good book to start with. I was looking for different years that had significance, but you know what? The book to start with is the one you can find. So that's what I'm going to do. And I've printed out some transfer film with some images, and this, me holding this up will be the thumbnail ultimately. This is a photo of my father with his parents and one of his several siblings, his older sister.
And that's his mom and dad at the top, right?
Yeah, I said that first,
okay.
Actually.
Sorry.
Yeah. I think I did.
No, I'm sure you did.
I'll just go over that again. Mom, dad, my dad, his sister, my aunt.
Yeah.
And this is back in, I think it's in Pekalongan, Indonesia. That's in central Java. So that's where he was born. And in that picture, he's no more than 3. Yeah. So anyway, I've got a number of scans of old documents and things. And so I think I'm going to turn the end papers. The end papers I'm going to fill with his original birth certificate.
Which you have a copy of, right? Yeah.
Yes, which I have a copy of.
Annie has joined us. She says, "Hi, Kim and Cal. So nice to see and hear you."
Hi, Annie. So
Yeah.
glad you could make it.
Yay.
I know it's gorgeous out there. So I trust you've been out in the garden all morning. So yeah, I have scans of his original birth certificate, which when he was born, when my dad was born, Indonesia was not known as Indonesia. That was not actually a legal name for it. It was a Dutch colony known as the Dutch East Indies. And my research for my dad's memorial showed me that the Dutch actually suppressed the term Indonesia because they wanted to discourage the Indonesian independence movement. Ultimately, they failed, obviously, and 5 years after the Japanese surrender in the Pacific part of the World War II, the Dutch recognized an independent Indonesia. So it's interesting because we have family who live in the Netherlands. It was quite a natural thing to, if you were going to go to the West from Indonesia, to go to the Netherlands. And my father's primary language was Dutch. So I guess I'll back this up now so that I can get working on the book. Oh, and we can actually do an overhead camera thing too.
Well, if you would like that, I can set that up.
Yeah.
I need to go get the bracket and so on.
Okay, well, it's probably worth doing, don't you think?
Right. Yeah, I can do that.
Yeah,
in a moment,
okay.
A few minutes. Yeah.
So we will have some overhead cam happening.
Yep.
There, that's all right. And the
Meanwhile,
closer it is to me, the more visible it is. Okay. Yes.
Annie says she had to run errands, but she can now sit beside the window and see her potted plants.
Oh, well, that's nice.
Great. And Cherie has joined us. Hello, Cherie.
Hi, Cherie.
And she says, "Hi, good to see you. What a gorgeous shot. This will be an amazing tribute."
Oh, thank you. This is not I've shared most of my plans so far with you already. So it's not a highly planned out thing. The first thing I do is I go through looking for, so that this end facing end paper is heavier weight and uncoated, whereas the interior pages are thinner and coated. And so that's something I'm taking note of, because I had thought I might be gluing these pages together. I still might need a bit of bolstering. I'm not sure. It might be all right on its own though. But yeah, gluing up is one of those things that happens early on. Ooh, the microelectronics revolution. The new miniaturized electronics with their high speed and reliable performance promise major improvements in our lives. No kidding, eh? This is 1968. A lot's happened since then. My father was an electrical engineer, and he worked for Bell, he worked for Northern Electric, and he worked for Microsystems International, and then Nortel. That's where he ended his career and spent the bulk of his career, which exploded, a few years after he left. After he retired, he retired early. So that's a very apropos of him and his life. It's funny how it just leapt out at me. So I'm going to put a post-it note on that contents page. That's what I was reading it from. So I'll show you what this book looks like. Nice blank end papers. I really like this title page, so I don't want to mess with it just yet. That is say, I'm certainly not going to glue it shut, but what I will do is glue it to the next spread. And then there's the contents page, and because of this article, I want that to show. There's a big thing on Margaret Mead in a section entitled Men of Science. Now, isn't that rich? Things look so different in retrospect, don't they? Okay, so I'm going to glue that together. Cal, could you pass me the heavyweight page protectors?
I can.
Maybe just pull a few of them out.
Okay.
That would be great. Thank you. Fantastic. I'll pull this closer to me. Oh, we have the frame now, so I can go overhead. All right.
We may need to tweak the. I can do it.
Oh, okay. Thank you, dear.
Everyone, look away in a minute while I do this.
Cal will try and do it slowly so that you don't get too seasick. Okay.
In other words, that's Kim's way of saying, "Do it slowly, Cal." Now,
he's cottoned on to my strategies.
We will see how this goes.
Right, because of the length of the cable. Okay, look at that. Overhead cam. Makes me feel so pro. This for anybody who, I often get asked a question, what is an altered book, or what is an altered book compared to an artist book? Are they the same, or is it different? Well, in one respect, they're the same, but there is a distinction, and that is that an altered book, you start off with an existing book and you alter it. An artist book is something you make from scratch, or at the very least, it would be a blank book if you didn't want to make from scratch. But a simple accordion fold book is, I think, an awesome format. There are beautiful Japanese books that I'm aware of that are just accordion format.
Apologies for the camera jostle. We normally set this up ahead of time, so we're just trying to optimize it a little bit.
Doing anything ahead of time for today was very difficult because we've been on the phone and
all right. I think that's reasonable.
Sorting through papers, finding things we need for various things. Okay, so that's glued together. Excellent. Now, I wonder if I can glue together the next one.
This is great seeing that you were working from overhead.
It is, isn't it? Is the lighting good? It looks reasonably even. Is it bright enough, though?
It's reasonable, I think. I will direct a little more onto the surface.
Yeah, I think I'll glue the next spread together too. Oops. That Post-it note. That will make it, although I can imagine playing with this, that will make it the pages sturdier for modifying. Who knows? This is a substantial book, so there are a lot of possibilities that I could play with.
Just the way you like it.
But this is going to be a book. It has some thematic ideas, and I will just have to find the forms that occur to me and speak to me as I go through it.
Wend your way through.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Kim gets that underway. What are you guys working on? Let us know in the comments and I'll pass them along. It's always fun to see. It's that's our way of kind of walking around the room to see what other people are busy with.
Getting the feeling of the studio.
Yeah, exactly. Like, oh, when I go over to Val's table, Val's working on this. And when I go over to see what Annie's doing, she's doing this. And Cherie's doing that.
Yeah, it's fun to have a virtual group studio.
Yeah. I have a little sketchbook that I started in March of several years ago to do a March challenge. And I have just continued doing occasional pieces in it. And that's what I do because it's something that it's kind of like glorified doodling. And that's what I usually do in between doing comments and conversing with Kim. So that's what I'll be working in. And oh my goodness, Val, you're breaking from tradition and working on a collage. What is it? What are the national days today, Val? What is it? National Feed Your Labrador a Treat and Toe Separation Day or something?
Toe Separation Day. That's funny. We're in the midst of
whatever Val tells us they are, they're going to be stranger than those things. Yeah. Right, Val?
That's funny. Okay, I need a brush. Look at that. I've got a whole kit full of brushes and things.
Oh, that sounds interesting. Val says Wednesday is running and rotisserie chicken day.
Rotisserie chicken day. That is so funny. Oh, by the way, today is the last day of Asian Heritage Month. And you are, of course, seeing my Asian heritage.
That's right. Hey, that works out well. It's like it was planned.
Exactly. I'll have to make sure to tag this. The video
stream. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Annie says she was going to try a second version of her candy jar, but she's not settled.
Right.
And yes, I know the candy jar you mean, Annie. And so she said, so I will sketch another Find Your Happy series. Ooh, that sounds great. Val says, you know how hard it is to find running shoes for chickens. They,
I can imagine.
They have them for dogs, I'm sure.
Can you pass me the green cutting mat that's underneath your things there?
Yeah, eventually I can.
So I think I need to.
The one that I've got so nicely set up underneath everything. Yeah.
So nicely set up. It's true.
Inadvertently, actually. There you go.
Thank you, dear.
Cherie says, I got my second vaccine. Woohoo!
Oh, wow.
Way
Congratulations.
So I want to document the occasion with another collage. I am collecting everything in a COVID time capsule. Collecting everything in a COVID time capsule-esque format. Right. That's great.
Yeah, such a good idea.
We walked in to get our first vaccination, and I looked at Kim and I said, we have to do what Cherie did and get the needles. And that was the last we thought of it until like we were driving home. I'm like, oh, missed opportunity yet again. But we were just so overjoyed to get the jab that
it's so lovely, hopefully you can see this. The scan, of course, has the old edges of the paper with all the little dents
and like bits of dirt and so on. Yeah.
Here. I've got some printing on the paper underneath it. So, and gosh, it'd be nice to somehow incorporate that, wouldn't it?
Oh, there, the camera just corrected. I was just about to ask you to do something to correct it, but it just did.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Way to go, camera.
Oh, but the problem is up here is where his...
Is that where the important stuff is?
Parent, certainly his father's name is there, and...
Yeah, so start with that in the middle and run off a bit more off the bottom, I guess. Yeah, you'll still have the seal, right? Which is important.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is trim the film. Make sure it's square. Get the book out. There we go. And I'm using the transfer film I'm using today is different. It's called DAS Premium Transfer Film.
And what is premium about it? Do you know?
It's in the emulsion. Whether there's more of it is what I suspect. And it's DAS is a company founded by Bonnie Lahota, who was one of the co-developers of the original transfer film that Inkaid sells, and I've used on here before. But she decided to really run with it and has developed all kinds of variations on the products and products for transferring onto and so on, and does workshops. Okay, I'm just starting with a fresh blade before I make my critical cut. Double check that it's square. Yes. Okay.
Is it square, Kim?
Yeah, and I'm just thinking I need a bit more margin so that...
That's great. Cherie says, I showed my pharmacist the fabric transfer mask I made with the Don't Worry, Be Happy sheet music on it. He got so distracted with the image, he gave me the syringe with the needle still in it. So now I even have
oh my God.
For my time capsule.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I'm sure that's not
protocol.
Not protocol. That's exactly what it is. But pretty great.
But hey, yeah. Geez, that seems funny that's... Oh, no, it isn't square. Okay. Sorry, this is just a fussy little thing to get it just right. I'm often loosey-goosey on this, but as you can imagine, this is something I'm going to be more
a little
careful
more persnickety about.
Yeah, that's right. And I will just trim off some of the excess film around it. That I can just eyeball, fortunately. Oops. So we don't have too much extra flapping around. I'll keep this extra flap at one end. That can be useful. All right. It's good that I've already got some fingerprints on the cover. It's just part of the patina, right?
Exactly.
Right.
It's a handmade thing.
It is.
The
it's
artist's
literally
hand, the artist's hand must be evident, right?
That's right. Okay. So I gotta get this page protector in the right place. There we go. Protecting the page below.
There's some way of like signing artwork with a thumb fingerprint.
Well, you could do it right into the paint if you wanted.
Convention, I guess, is the word.
No, I don't know what the convention would be around that.
Right. Well, it sounds like a good one, even if it's...
I mean, presumably they started that practice with the cave paintings.
Yeah.
Could you bring me one of those white ceramic dishes that are on the other table?
I could.
I can see that that's going to be a necessary thing. It's on this side, and there's an ashtray on top of it.
Good thing you know all of this.
Remember ashtrays? Everybody had to have ashtrays at one time. I have flower petals in mine. So the opposite.
This needs it's just got some dust in it, which won't help your transfer knife.
Thank you.
Much.
Do you need to spray it with water?
Yes, that would be even better. Sounds good, doesn't it?
It's like that. Remember that window cleaner ad?
Windex.
Was it Windex that
You're making the windows squeak?
Sing,
right? Sing.
I think I was a kid when that commercial was out, and I thought it was goofy then.
Yeah.
10 years old, I thought it was goofy.
You weren't wrong. Yeah, that's why I said squeak, because who would think that was singing?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's some, middle-aged ad man's idea of what a kid would say.
Yeah, I think that's...
And I say man advisedly. Okay, that seems to be pretty even, so I'm going to give that a go.
Oh dear, that's worrying, Cherie. Cherie says, I remember making asbestos ashtrays in art class as a child.
Oh my God.
The things,
no.
Yeah. Oh.
Asbestos. Oh my God.
I know the stuff here. Well, so many, like, our environmental toxins are just so much worse than they used to be, but our knowledge is better about them. And back then, oh my God, the things.
Well, yeah, like there were those kids' science kits that had real radioactive material.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And they eventually recalled them. Yeah, it just boggles the mind. And I remember my grandparents had one of those clocks that had the glow-in-the-dark paint that was later discovered to be radioactive, and the generally women in the factories who painted the dots used to lick their paintbrush tips because, in fact, artists did that too back in the day, because you get a really good shape to your brush.
Just
Okay.
It comes at a bit of a cost.
Yeah, it came at a big cost to them. Okay, there we go. You gotta love official seals, eh? Especially vintage ones.
Yeah, I seem to recall doing that too, Cherie. Cherie says, we also played with the mercury from broken thermometers.
Yes, because it was so fascinating, wasn't it?
Watching the little silver ball droplet roll around. Oh,
incredible.
I totally remember that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's a wonder we're all alive.
Seriously.
And
have any brains left?
The secondhand smoke that I breathed
the cloud of smoke he lived in for the first 20 years of his life or whatever.
Moved out was my parents smoked filterless cigarettes.
Well, at least they were filterless.
Yeah,
they're actually more toxic when they had the filters.
The filters.
Because they added more chemicals.
Right, yeah. Rebecca says, I also played with lead flashing.
Oh my God, yes.
Yes.
Because lead's a fabulous material. That's why Anselm Kiefer uses it all the time. The great contemporary German artist. He makes these massive artist books out of them.
It's heavy and it's like soft, right?
Yeah,
it's
really soft, and you can crease it and you can crumple it and you can form it, right? But
yeah, so as a creative young person, of course it's like,
but like
wonderful.
Everything about it is just, if tiny bits of dust from it come off and you inhale it, that's a neurotoxin. It's just dreadful to think of. But I can totally see why he uses it. So I should have set a timer for this, but I didn't. So, we're just going to wing it here at the virtual studio party.
Winging it with Kim.
Yeah. That's what the subtitle should be.
It really should, yeah.
Oh my God. Even when I start with good intentions, I can see already there's a gap in the... Oh, well, it's just going to be what it's going to be. Because it's an image transfer.
Yeah, it's true. Rebecca says they thought radiation was good for you in the early 1900s and added it to all kinds of things like water, blankets, medicines.
Oh my God.
Oh, yeah. And I think things, so that's more toxic in some respects, but there was also like products that had cocaine in them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Patent medicines, not to mention Coca-Cola, obviously, but patent medicines often had opium or cocaine or all kinds of things.
Speed, I think. Yeah. Crazy.
Speed stayed popular. I remember in high school, some of the people I went to school with were very wealthy, lived in very wealthy parts of the city in actual mansions and so on. And I remember sitting around chatting with some of them and them comparing notes on their mothers and their mothers' friends having speed parties. They took speed as an appetite suppressant so that they could stay thin.
Right.
and wear their,
Well,
couture.
Smoking was.
Oh yeah, they smoked for sure. No question about it, because that's
Wow.
also an appetite suppressant.
I had no idea. Rebecca said 7-Up had Valium in it.
Really?
It's like, okay, well, our main competition is Coke with its caffeine and so on. So we'll put it. But I thought 7-Up had no, that's Mountain Dew that has caffeine in it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mountain Dew has caffeine.
Go to the Five and Dime and get an upper and downer in soda form.
Seriously. That's so bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, it is bizarre.
Okay, I'm going to trim just below the sentence that has my dad's birthplace mentioned. It's written in Dutch, and I can't read Dutch. I neither read it nor speak it, sadly. It's too bad, because when I was young, I was very good at languages, but the problem was when my parents still lived together, my mom was urging him to teach me one or more of his languages, but he'd forgotten them because he was living far from home, without community, without media that was in his language. So he started dreaming in English, and that was that. Until my first uncle came to Canada, and he retaught my father. Obviously, it's way easier to relearn a language than to learn one for the first time. Okay, so that one's now ready. Now this is interesting because on the inside front cover, of course, the paper that matches the paper I just transferred onto doesn't go right to the edges, right? It is the same height as what's here, but it doesn't even go right to the center. So we'll see how it turns out.
Cherie says, my dad can only swear in Finnish.
Well, that's fun.
Yeah, that is fun.
Do you speak any Finnish, Cherie? On the topic of swearing, I remember my dad saying he found it quite amusing when people would swear at him, because it meant nothing to him, because English was his third and a half language. It just didn't have the weight that it does for a native speaker. Now, 50 years later, maybe it felt more meaningful, but certainly when I was growing up, he expressed that. There we go.
Cherie says, no, can't even swear.
Well, that was a wasted opportunity, don't you think? Or a missed opportunity, let's say. Don't you think, Cherie? I mean, I can't claim that I found out from my dad either, but I have cousins I can ask.
You should learn some of them, Cherie, and then recite them at a swearing-in ceremony. All right, I'm hoping this will work out. It's going to work great.
Where's my applicator? It's kind of nice. It's getting just cut off a little bit at the top, which I am putting it on slightly crooked, though. That thing's happening, if I'm not quite accurate with the straightness.
Well,
my graphic design skills, they're just atrophying.
Annie says, I grew up in Montreal, and when I was most angry, I would swear in French. LOL.
Well, there's something about it, though, isn't there?
Oh.
Like it's like any of the Latin languages. I think they're extra good for swearing.
Yeah.
Passionate cultures, colorful cultures.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of them would have something to say about white people swearing.
Well, Anglo-Saxon
Yeah,
swearing,
yeah,
right?
exactly.
Not
Yes,
they're
sorry,
white.
that's what I meant.
Yeah.
Cherie says, sorry if you already told us, but where did you purchase the transfer film?
DASS, DASS, is the company. And I think that the website is das-art.com, I'm going to say. Cal, if you can look that up and then put it in the chat. Yeah, there are some places. I don't know. I'm going to have to go in, I think, and put a little more stuff on. I want to get that date in there.
No hyphen, but I will.
But it is DAS Art.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So both Inkade and DAS Art are in the United States. Although I think the exchange rate improved recently. But that's always fluctuating anyway, so.
Autocorrect changed DAS Art to dessert.
Dessert.
Oh.
Well, I wish it were dessert, but it's not.
Rebecca says, the Mexican girls and girls from Hong Kong at my high school taught us to swear in Spanish and Cantonese. We would use them on the soccer
nice.
field.
See, Cantonese is a Chinese language that is like Latin languages in being hugely expressive.
Yeah. And I love this. She said, we would use them on the soccer field to avoid being carded for swearing during the game. That's brilliant, Rebecca.
I love it. I love it. Okay, I'll let that sit for a minute. God, it's got the old typewriter and this beautiful two amazing signatures and little marginalia as well. I think this is a really nice way to open the book with this document. Larger than life. Let's see, how's that? Well, I feel like I need a bit more. The edges are always tricky, edges and corners. I think I'll put a little bit more stuff there. See if I can get a little bit more. Hope you can hear me. Sorry, I realize I'm just kind of
trailing off a little bit there.
I'm muttering to myself. Okay, yeah, that needs more. That's why you got to check. This isn't perfectly flat and smooth because the cover is cloth wrapped around the board part of the cover, and the edge of the cloth is here. And so that creates a little step down, which would normally create a gap unless you're very, very mindful of it and work on it.
And you weren't minding the gap sufficiently. Is that what you're telling us?
Not to start with, I guess. That's better. Oh, yes. Now, there's a section there that I think could use a bit more. By the, this touching up with extra alcohol gel doesn't always work. So I can't say this is universally a good method, but when it works, it works. So it's worth a try. I don't want too much of the marginalia missing. I don't mind it being broken up, but I don't want it mostly gone. Yeah, that's better. Okay. Let's see how to fix up transfers that are being tricky.
Tricky transfers with Kim Lee.
Yep. There, that's better. Let's see how it's doing on this side. Yeah. Again, gaps are kind of large, so I'm just going to see what I can recover. That's better.
Looks like most of it is transferring pretty well.
Yep. There we go. So you see I'm being more painstaking about this to get a good effect. But now I'll give you a close-up. So it has this nice worn look, but you're not missing massive chunks.
That distressing up there is great.
And I think it's quite nice there
great
too.
Down there. Yeah, so it's not perfect, which is perfect, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Perfectly imperfect.
And
when
you get
that stamp was showing up at the top.
Yeah, exactly. The 19. Whoops. Sorry, guys. There we go. See the date stamp. So my father wasn't born in January 1933, but his birth was registered then, I guess. So I just need to let that dry a bit.
Good time for a sip of something.
I think so. I think it's a very good time. So how's everybody else doing? What's blooming in your gardens right now? Do any of you have lilacs? Because I noticed on
They're probably
social
past it
media.
now, aren't they?
Well, I've seen a lot of posts about lilacs lately,
Well,
so I'm
yeah.
assuming that
Yeah,
there are
no,
a lot
maybe
of
you're right.
lilacs out
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
I love photographing lilacs.
Farmer Rebecca's probably got like a dozen crops going on.
That's true. Yeah, what are you harvesting, if anything? Maybe it's too early to harvest anything. I don't know. Although you might be getting some herbs. We mostly have a bumper crop of weeds and unwanted seedlings from numerous shrubs and trees that just like to fill up our yard with tough, annoying things to pull out. And we have no time or energy for pulling them out right now. This is good. I should be fanning this with a piece of cardboard, and I know just the piece of cardboard.
All right. Val says their radishes are almost ready to pick, and their lilacs are almost finished.
Almost finished, eh? Wow.
And Annie says irises, columbines, starting of poppies.
Right. Yes, I've seen a lot of irises around. I forgot about that.
And Rebecca says we've eaten some lettuce, but we'll have peas soon, even a couple of peppers starting. That's great.
Oh, fabulous. Wow. That's so great. I'm feeling quite pleased with this, the way this looks, the document inside the on the end papers. And that's quite an interesting transition. You know, the orientation sideways, the fact that it's sort of cut off at the edges from this very orderly, nicely designed, sort of vintage design sensibility to this much older distressed thing. I think there's something there. So that's good. It's always good to get off to a good start. I might collage some paper onto this this reverse side, you know, in a color. Maybe pick up from the fire, lava.
The lava flow.
Get something red-orange here in a Japanese paper, maybe. I'll dye it myself so that it's the right color. And yeah, that would be nice. So now I can look at, it's still drying, but it's getting there. I can look at what I printed out here. So it's got a bit of a greenish cast. Oh, well. I should have printed black only. But I've printed a sequence where it gets closer and closer. In on my father as a little tot. And I thought that that would make an interesting sequence. I'm just thinking about that microelectronics revolution. If there is a way I can exploit that and yet have this.
That's a transfer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would happen if you don't have to worry about the black areas, but what if you painted your page?
Well, I can mess with the black areas.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
In fact, I can mess with everything that isn't my dad. That might be an idea.
What about can't speak. Whatever you do with the transfer, you could paint the page, everything on the spread except that item, leave that item white, but put like a transparent color on everything else to knock it back a bit so that white area leaps.
Yeah.
Or
well, I think the first thing I'm going to do is this V-neck that's dark on my grandfather. I'm going to lighten.
Remove that or reduce it.
Yeah.
You need some.
Can I have some water in that yogurt container? That would be really great.
We'll do that. Just want to pass along that Cherie says she's winning the war against the boxwood moth.
Oh, right. You mentioned that.
BTK biological insecticide to spray on the bushes. Her lettuces are about ready to plant outside. She was a little late this year.
Right. Not as late as we are.
We're late as in next year.
Oh, every year seems to be next year. Oh, well. Can't do everything, especially some of us. Oh, okay. So yeah, one of the things about this transfer film is that you can modify it. And not just the premium and not just the DAS. The Inkade regular transfer film is just as modifiable. Because you can mess with the emulsion. So I've flipped the film over to work directly into the emulsion. It's kind of like people in the olden days.
Olden days
used to modify the emulsion on Polaroids.
That's right.
Adventurous photographers and artists. And got some really interesting effects. So there's a bit of that spirit here.
Cherie says, don't think of it as late for this year. Think of it as early for next year.
I like your thinking, Cherie.
We're planning.
That makes me happy. That makes me so happy.
We're gathering input and research for next year.
Yeah, and ideas.
That's right.
Yeah. That's right. That's the way to look at it. Okay, so that's kind of fun. Now, of course, once you change one thing, you change everything, right? So I'm just going to, I don't want to touch the paper yet. I'm going to need to open that up even a little bit more in here. Let's make it paler. Sometimes when you're doing stuff like this, where it's you're layering things, but you want to preserve or enhance or highlight something, and it creates a somewhat odd result. But you can use that as a starting point for really changing up how you maybe treat other parts of what you're working on as well. It becomes a launch pad And the very fact that it's a bit odd is actually useful, because that turns it into a problem in the good sense, not in the bad sense, that your brain then wants to solve.
An interesting problem, right?
Yeah, something that your brain wants to solve. You know what? I think I do want Q-tips, but I see some right here.
So many times I'll start a piece with no real idea of what I'm doing. And then as I do it, I sort of figure out what it's about. And then sometimes I regret. It's like, oh, if I had known now what I at the beginning.
Known then what you know now.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry. I would have started differently. But then I think, well, I wouldn't have started, because you have to start to sort of figure things out.
Yeah.
And then
exactly. So you just have to start.
Exactly.
Otherwise, you're not going to get anywhere. So you can see I'm opening up some of these darks here. I like a certain porousness to things, so it adds a lot to layered techniques. So this will literally open up some fresh possibilities.
Cherie asks, what are you dipping the brush in? Or brush or Q-tip in?
It's a Q-tip, and I'm dipping it in plain water. So very expensive, hard to get.
Jen Vong is.
Oh, hi, Jen.
Hello, Jen.
Oh my God, I'm so glad you're here.
Challenges.
Yes, those damn challenges, and they lead to the interesting discoveries, right? There, so that I think is quite interesting. Now I'll bring it up closer so you can see. Remember, this is mirror image because I'm working with the.
Oh yeah, that looks very painterly up there.
Exactly.
Now. That's great.
Exactly. So.
Wow.
Yeah, it really brings some life to it, and so it personalizes what would otherwise feel like pure documentary. Lifts us into another space. And I think that's really useful, given that the end papers are this document, right? And I don't expect I'm going to mess with that much, if at all. So to then open it up and see photography, but photography that's clearly been interfered with and modified, I think will be a really nice
counterpoint.
Development in the sequence.
Jen says, hi, Kim and Cal. With 3 smiling cats.
Oh.
Yay.
Yeah. So nice to see you here. There.
He said, did I miss the part that uses the Mac mouse? Kidding.
Are you issuing a challenge? Is that we're probably not up to the challenge today, but it could happen.
Jen, the glue on the mouse is just drying, and then you'll see where she's going to put it in. Susan Abbott says, hi there. Glad to see you back at it.
Nice to see you here too. I'm creating the hint of, well, maybe not even a hint of a halo around my grandmother's head, because my grandmother died when my father was about 8 years old. And, that's not the sort of thing one gets over or whatever. It's a formative, profound, and traumatic experience. And as a result, you know, who she was in his emotional and psychological landscape was, yeah, the halo is appropriate. Let's put it that way. So I won't make it look medieval or anything. Okay. And yeah, I'm going to leave it at that in terms of messing with. I'm just going to give it a chance to dry. Where's my cardboard? There it is. Good stiff cardboard makes a fantastic drying fan. Stiffer it is, the less effort required. Yeah, so the emulsion, you know, obviously the alcohol-based hand sanitizer gel, the alcohol in that is the solvent that allows the transfer to happen, but water is also a solvent for this emulsion. Actually, you know, very interesting. There is a headdress in Bali, at least, that has this sort of halo effect, very ornate. And Bali is part of Indonesia. So there's kind of an interesting connection there, too. Okay, little sip of fuel here. All right. It's not quite dry, but I will get started coating the page I'm going to transfer onto. Now this is quite different paper. The other paper was more absorbent. So we'll see how this goes. I better get that ink out of there. See, I've already got some mucky ink here. Always intentionally mucking things up in advance for that special patina. Or winging it. You decide. It's all part of the magic formula, though. Never forget that.
How could we with you here to remind us? Right?
It's like if you're someone who always gets thumbprints on your best drawings, I'm with you. I'm that person too.
So you're responsible for all those thumbprints I keep getting on my. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Okay, here's hoping. It's not very flat. Oh, and of course, I haven't trimmed it. So I'll be probably reapplying a bit of stuff. Okay. I need to figure out how much I'm trimming off. And it will be about that much. Winging it again. Try not to trim your fingernails at the same time as you're trimming the film.
No, they're best kept separate.
Yeah. Okay. Now you see this paper is curling up now because of the water content in the gel. But the surface is now bone dry, or almost bone dry, in a whole lot of chunks. So I have to reapply. And it's going to be more ripply because of it. So who knows how this photo is going to turn out. Because this is one page is laminated to another page, that adds a whole other level of rippling action to this paper that I'm preparing for the transfer. And a little extra on the corners and edges because they're always tricky. Okay. Okay, once it makes contact, you can't slide it at all. And so that's why I have so many crooked transfers. There are going to be some interesting artifacts from the bumps and ripples in the paper below, but that's just going to add to the character of the transfer. There also looks like there's going to be brush marks in places.
Susan says, I like the idea of using page protectors between the pages. I've used wax paper, but page protectors look a lot more convenient.
Yeah, there's this is even a heavyweight. Midweight is also good. Page protector. They're good and sturdy, and they don't absorb any of the moisture, whereas wax paper can, and that can.
Yeah.
And then they aren't. Now I'm thinking that there isn't enough gel in parts of this transfer because I can't get it to have full. Oh, wow. And there's too much gel right there. Well, it's going to be a merry dance, everybody. My grandfather's face is sort of breaking up because there's a pocket of gel. I think I'll be doing some damage control like I did the last time, so I might as well get some gel handy. Let it sit for a minute and have another drink of fuel. So I was thinking about this altered book project in relation to the Lost Museum as well. Some of you may remember I'm part of the Lost Museum project, which is this year's In Situ Multi-Arts Festival that this year is strictly virtual in an interactive website. And my section of the museum is the Lost Library, and it has altered book projects on the theme of lost, forgotten, discarded, and abandoned. And I was supposed to do a workshop in connection with the launch of the Lost Museum website, but it wasn't possible at that time for me to do that. But I do plan to do an altered book workshop this year, or course actually, so that there are multiple weeks to work on it using that theme. And because I thought, well, I lost my father, and when he died, all that was still inside him got lost as well. Now, of course, there are things that stay here, the parts of him and his history and so on that are inside me and inside everyone else who knew and loved him. But I think that this book is going to be an opportunity for me to consider what was lost, what's been lost since his passing. And so I expect it will be quite an emotional journey, but also I hope an opportunity for some deep reflection. Anyway, I've managed to position it in such a way that you can barely read microelectronics, never mind the rest of the sentence, which I think is hilarious considering I did all this modification of the film because I wanted to preserve that line. I have to say that that's classic, though, right?
That is classic. It's classic you, but
there's something about that's interesting, isn't there?
There is, and I wouldn't worry about it. I think it's just subconscious intuition, sort of overpowering rational, which I think is completely fine.
It's important, actually. Oh dear, I've left it on too long, I think. No, it's okay. All right, let the damage control games begin, eh? Here we go. So this happens because of the ripples. So I'm just going to see if I can persuade portions of what didn't transfer to transfer. It doesn't have to be all of it.
Jen says goodness. I'm not sure in respect to which, but with a tear.
Yes.
And Annie says, thanks for sharing such a personal, altered book. Yeah.
Well, it's the one I am moved to make, and art. Some people do impersonal art, but I don't actually do impersonal art, or very rarely. Some of my paintings are pure material explorations, but most of my work has highly personal content. And of course, my father's face is missing its eyes. Now, isn't that something? What does that say? I'm just going to see if I can get a little bit of them back, but there's something spooky about that. Okay, so next time I will make sure I've trimmed the film before I apply the alcohol gel, and that will mean that I'll have less of these ripples to contend with. But, it's actually making the brushed darks fit in with the
rest of the transfer.
Distressed part of the transfer. Yeah.
Jen, I think, just clarified touching statement.
Oh, thank you.
And Susan Abbott says, I have an old chemistry for kids book from her dad.
Oh.
And she says, you're giving me some good ideas what I might do with it.
That's fantastic, Susan. It's so great to have things like that. I did ask my stepmother if there were any books of Dad's, other than novels, but like books that he would have used as a student or as a professional.
Yeah.
And she said no. I mean, I hope she's wrong. I hope there are a few when she sort of works her way through stuff. But there we go. So this is quite... You can see that there's photography here, but it's much more about brush strokes. Both the ones, hopefully this will show up well. Both the ones that are, were worked into the darks. Also, you see those striations there? Those are from the brush marks of applying the gel, and here too. Applying the gel to the paper, and it stayed striated looking. And probably that happens more on this coated paper than on the uncoated paper that the end papers are. Speaking of which, oh my God, it's gluing together. It's just a never-ending adventure with me.
Hairdryer would that help or hinder?
I think I need the opposite. I think I need to moisten so that I should have put a page protector between them. So everybody here, you can learn from that. Susan, if you're doing anything with the book, just remember that. Can you pass me a binder clip from the drawer? The file drawer?
Yeah.
So that I don't have to keep holding this. Oh my God. All right.
Bring you a few options.
Yeah, I just need to hold these two together so that I can. Okay, I'm spraying water where the two pages stuck together.
In the hopes that that will help.
It's helped part of it already.
That's good.
There may be some damage as a result of this, but that's just going to be the... I'll do my best to minimize the damage, but... Okay, hear that snap, crackle, and pop? It's separated. Actually quite minor damage.
Yeah,
but
looks pretty good.
Where's one of the clean page protectors? Time for that. There we go.
To protect those pages.
Yeah. So, you know, these two pages don't have anything on them, and I didn't want this flapping into this very soft, still wet transfer. And so these little binder clips are fantastic for that. Clothes pegs would be just fine. There. So there's my grandmother, and her halo came out quite well. So this I will probably come back into later with some additional media and start connecting some of the dots in terms of recreating some of the integrity of the image, but in an interesting way because it's done by hand in a different medium, not photographic. So I think that will be a good addition. Not sure yet what will happen on this side. That will be interesting to think about. I have had an idea for this spread that I've not done anything to, that I've clamped together for the time being. So I mentioned, you know, doing dyeing some Japanese paper for the left-hand page in a color that ties into the cover lava. I think the right-hand page, I'm going to find a batik design, because batik is the textile surface treatment design, surface design technique used in Indonesia traditionally. So men, when they're dressing formally, will wear a very beautiful batik shirt. That's their formal wear. Just like Filipino men wear a white shirt that's got quite a lot of embroidery on the front, as I recall, and that, so it's not like a business shirt in Western Europe and North America. It's quite different.
On a more prosaic note, Cherie says page protectors are at the dollar store. I stocked up.
Excellent. Yeah. They're the, you know, this kind of plastic, as opposed to the hard, brittle plastic. This kind of plastic is perfect for protecting
roll.
things from paint and medium and all kinds of stuff. And they're washable. Like you can clean
Wipe
them off
down and reuse them.
Yeah.
I should give you a heads up that it's 3:25.
Wow. Look at that. Time flies, eh? I mean, we've got all kinds of things done, including endangering the work I'd done. That's always good. Just gently blotting to get some of the moisture off.
Part of the process.
It is. It is for me. I can be careful, but there's always that randomizer switch that just says, "You think you're being so careful? Forget about it." I'll find a way to mess this up. But no, I'm pleased so far. And I think, this kind of blue-green cast to the black, it may not look like that on your screen, but that's how it is in real life. And then this warm ochre, I think something with reds in it will be very nice. Red, orange will be very nice in between them. Good contrast. Plus having the contrast again in visual qualities and tactile qualities. Yeah, I really had to use a lot of water to get that to release, I guess. Pretty funny. Cherie has something more to say.
She says, I keep my unglued collage pieces in them.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also store similar/related images in separate protectors to add to my image bank.
That's great.
You are an organized.
Well,
girl.
part of that, I think it's an important process. Like if you go into your studio and all you do is sort of sift through things you've collected and cut out and whatever, and arrange them and organize them in different groupings and in different ways, that's a productive day in the studio. That is hugely important artist work that has nothing to do with actually making a piece. And it's can be a very pleasurable way to spend time as well.
Oh, and it's loading your awareness of them so that the next time or 3 weeks down the road, you're working on something and you remember the thing that you sorted. It's like, oh, I know what I need for this. I need that image of the X that I filed.
Absolutely.
Where is that? Oh, right. I put it in the folder with X things.
It also deepens your relationship with your materials so that, it allows you to find connections, to consider alternative connections, and structure their, it's like you're making a library in your brain. And you're structuring that library so that you can access it, like Kal was saying, but also because it allows you to process possibilities when you're daydreaming or in your subconscious. And that is not to be underestimated. That's where a lot of creative magic happens. You sort of load the information into your brain, and then you let it percolate for a while, not trying to process it, just allowing it to bubble away unattended. And then you come back to it, and it's amazing what will emerge out of that, allowing that. And that's why it's important don't always push hard. if you're a person, it can be good to do things really quickly and because it gets responses out of you that you wouldn't get by thinking. But other times, just allow things to bubble and slowly emerge, and you'll get different things than you would get by pushing. Usually, if you have to push too hard, you've been working away, and then you find you're really getting labored. That's a time to actually pause and step away and let that bubbling on the back burner happen.
Cherie says, that's a great way to describe the process. Others might call it hoarding. And Annie has a question for both of us.
Yes.
Do either of you plan to teach over the summer or to take the summer off to recharge?
Well, we would love to take the summer off to recharge, and normally that would be our plan. And earlier this year, that was our plan. But because of the various crises in my family, as I said, still ongoing, including my dad, we had to cut back on our teaching significantly. So in fact, Kal, I think you're already working on what your summer offering is going to be.
I haven't. I mean, normally at this point, I'd like to be able to just tell you, and I'm going to figure out what it's going to be soon. I am going to offer at least one course. And Kim, do you have a thought on whether or not you are going to yet or not?
I think so. Right. So if you have any requests, please let me know.
Us. Yep.
Get in touch via email at kimandkal@me.com or Instagram's a good place with requests. Or just, food for thought. Because we're so immersed in this current crisis, I haven't had a chance to think about it very much. The altered books, I think I might offer in the fall so that there's time and space for it. Because I think it could be a wonderfully reflective kind of course. So the summer, I think it would be nice to do something more fun. It could, one idea did pop into my head the other day, which is building gel plate monoprints with multiple impressions and building irregular compositions and things like that with multiple impressions, because there's so much that's possible that's not just what you see in the standard videos and so on. So I haven't even had a chance to explore that as much as I would like, but what I have done so far has been really exciting. Yes. So I thought that, because I have a lot of alumni from my gel plate printing courses, there might be some interest.
The camera back, or are you still?
Yeah, actually, that would be great, because I would like to show my face before we sign off.
All right, so look away if you get seasick easily as I move the camera, folks.
Yeah, and I'll just protect my other transfer. I'm sideways, I'm upside down. Wow, that was a crazy, crazy midway ride. Oh. Well, thank you everybody for joining us today. I know we were competing with spectacular weather, so
my goodness, it looks great outside.
I have a feeling some people will catch this later. I know there's some people who regularly watch the replays rather than the live because of the schedule.
I can't say as I blame them for catching the replay
today.
I think I may have to take you out for a little walk in a few minutes just to get you.
I just have to eat something first. I didn't eat much lunch before this, so.
Kirk is chuckling at that. The Midway ride.
Yeah.
Yeah. High tech Kim and Cal.
We're just your reality show dream, aren't we, Kirk?
Jen says, "Thank you. This was fun."
Oh, I'm glad,
thank you, Jen. It was
Jen.
nice to
Thanks
have you
for
along.
coming.
Yeah.
We appreciate all of you for coming.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
You guys make it worthwhile. And
Yeah.
it's so good to be back with you.
Yeah, it's really nice to spend time with you again, especially after it feels like it's been too long.
It has. I mean,
a lot's happened.
Yes.
I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I was writing someone about something and realized I was going to say something like a couple of weeks ago. And no, it was Friday. It was just a few days ago.
Yeah, it's just so much is going on and has been going on. So
Rebecca says, "Yep."
Yeah.
Valerie says, "Thanks. Interesting as usual. See you next week." Yes, we'll be back collage jamming.
Collage Jam next Monday. 2:00
Yep.
on Kal Honey's YouTube channel.
Yes.
So
thanks for coming,
hope
Annie.
you can come.
Thanks, Rebecca. Nice to have you along. Jen says, "I'm afraid to look into a mirror." LOL.
Aw, just smile. And it'll all look fine in the mirror.
Thank you, Cherie. Cherie says, "Always enjoy our time together. Take care of each other." We're doing our best. We're doing our best. And we're also getting
lots of... as you, I'm sure, would suspect, is awesome.
And likewise,
so
obviously.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
it's
been a real treat hanging with you guys. And we'll
take good care.
See you next week.
And we'll see you next week.
Yeah.
All right. And enjoy that stunning season we're having. All right. Bye for now.
Guys.